Hello, Tim from Fair Play Now. 1st of August 2021. Another month gone by, and this year's really rattling by as well, isn't it? So I thought it was a good kind of opportunity to give you two dates. First of all, what I'd consider my lowest point of this year so far, and the second one, the highest point of this year so far. So the lowest point, or my lowest ebb, and there's been quite a few contenders on the day that parliamentary vote went through for the care home worker thing, for instance, is a top contender. But I think the one that clinches it for me personally was the 30th of January 2021, and that was the date that the resistance movement was organising what they called the Great Reopening. It followed an incident that happened in Italy where quite a lot of people all over the country went to restaurants, and the restaurants there in Italy opened up in defiance of their sort of current regulations at the time. And it was quite a big thing that happened in Italy, and they were hoping that a similar thing would happen here. So it was going to happen on this Saturday, the 30th of January, and all businesses were called upon to just reopen in defiance of the current regulations. Of course, at that point we were in full kind of lockdown mode. And so what I did, I went out on that morning, sort of about 9 o'clock, kind of with the full intention of going in and supporting any business that did reopen. And I was hoping to see a lot of them. I was planning on going in and sitting down and having a nice kind of breakfast in a cafe or a caf, to do my part to sort of defy the regulations and take part in the Great Reopening and support local businesses. So for starters, it was a god-awful morning. It was grey, dull, middle of winter, rainy, horrible morning. But I went out, and my village has got this funnily enough, a cafe that's kind of just opened very recently. And I went in there, kind of looked in through the door, and I saw this bloke sitting down eating a meal. And I thought, yeah, it's happening. There's someone there opening, they've reopened and they're letting people in to sit down and eat, which was very much against the whole sort of thing at the time, sort of the regulations at the time. And I thought, this thing's really happening. So I just said, oh, can I sort of have breakfast in here? And they said no. And it turns out that the bloke was just a member of staff, just on a break having his breakfast. So of course he could sort of be there, but I couldn't, and nobody else could. And I kind of asked him if, the guy I was actually speaking to, if he'd heard of the Great Reopening, and of course he hadn't even heard of it. So that was disappointing. So nothing doing there. So I kind of drove around, as I say, on this horrible, dull, rainy Saturday morning. Went round to pretty much every cafe I could think of to get breakfast. Went to 2 towns and a couple of villages in between the 2 towns, and nowhere was open. No sign of this Great Reopening whatsoever. And then, kind of to add insult to injury, the only sign of life I saw was this queue, kind of queuing out of a sort of doctor's surgery, and sort of down the street. And you can guess what they were there for, queuing up for that. and I thought, oh, that's the only sign of life, and it's for that. How depressing. So January the 30th, my low point. My high point, and yeah, there have been high points in this year of 2021. I'm sure when we look back, it's going to sort of generally seem like a blimmin' horrible year, but well, unless things sort of start improving very, very rapidly indeed. But it has had its high points here and there. Lorraine and I have been off on sort of little trips away. We've had sort of meals out. We've been round to family and friends and had good times. So it hasn't been all bad. And there's been good news here and there along the way. But the high point for me, and it takes it by a long chalk, is April the 24th, 2021, which was the date of my first ever Freedom March or shopping trip, as I've got to call it. So of course I've been on all the other ones as well, but that was my first one, so it kind of makes it extra special. You know, you always remember your first, don't you, with everything. And yeah, it's just for the first time I could see the massive amount of people who sort of feel and think along the lines I do, you know, sort of like-minded people. And it was a huge turnout, as you'll see if you sort of look at that video that I did on the April the 24th sort of shopping trip. It was just fantastic. It's so uplifting, and it really kind of opened my eyes. I'd really felt quite lonely, apart from Lorraine, but quite lonely up to that point. And it really opened my eyes to exactly how many people out there who think along the lines I do. So that was just so uplifting, and I was just on such a high. So I will always remember April the 24th, 2021. So they're my two dates, low point and high point. I don't know what you think. You know, if you've got two dates like that, put them in the comments below. I'd like to see what your low point date and high point dates have been for this year as well. So I'll be interested in seeing that. Just a quick video recommendation for you before I go. I did say I was going to sort of watch the rest of a High Wire episode, so I'll be putting that on my website, and you can find it if you go to fairplaynow.net/must. That's the must see videos page, and it'll be the top one, the first one you come to. And it's a very, very well worth watching episode. It's particularly near the end, he has a couple of ladies on there who have had bad experiences, shall we say, after that. And it also highlights all the other people who have shared their experiences. Very, very emotional, very, very kind of eye-opening. So please go along and watch that. You can find it, as I say, at fairplaynow.net/must. Leave it there. I'll be back tomorrow. Tim from Fair Play Now. Thanks for watching.